History almost changed in a single moment. Not on a battlefield, not in a war between armies, but inside a quiet palace hall, when one man stood just a few steps away from the most powerful ruler in China and failed. At that time, he was not yet the first emperor. He was only the King of Qin. And Qin was already known across the land as a state of iron discipline and ruthless ambition. A tiger and wolf among kingdoms, feared by all. Among those who feared it most was the state of Yan. Yan was weak, and it knew what was coming. One by one, the great states had fallen. Everyone understood that Yan would be next. Its crown prince, Dan, made a desperate decision. If Qin could not be stopped by armies, it might be stopped by a single blade. So he turned to a man named Jing Ke. Jing Ke was not a general, not a noble, but he possessed something more dangerous: calm resolve. The plan was simple in design, but deadly in intent. He would enter the Qin court as an envoy, bearing gifts. One was a map of Yan's most fertile and valuable lands, something Qin deeply desired. The other was the severed head of a Qin general who had defected, Fan Yuki, who had taken his own life to make this mission possible. And inside the rolled map, hidden carefully, was a dagger, coated in poison. Originally, Jing Ke was meant to carry out this mission with a trusted companion, but Prince Dan grew impatient. Time was running out, and waiting felt more dangerous than risk. The companion never arrived. Instead, a young man named Qin Huang was chosen. He was known as a fierce youth, someone who had killed at 13, and whose reputation alone made others avoid his gaze. He was supposed to assist Jing Ke. Before departure, they stood by the Yi River. The wind was cold, the water dark. Prince Dan came to send them off. No grand speech could change what everyone already knew. This was a journey without return. The Qin court was vast and silent when they arrived. By custom, no one in the hall was allowed to carry weapons. The King of Qin sat high above, officials around him, guards at a distance, watching everything. Jing Ke and Qin Huang stepped forward, and something broke. Qin Huang stopped. His body stiffened, his face changed, and whatever courage had defined his reputation simply vanished. He could not move. He could not even look at the king. The tension was immediate. Jing Ke saw it. There was no time to adjust the plan, no second chance. He forced a smile, spoke calmly, and stepped forward with the map. The king gestured. Jing Ke moved closer, unrolled the map, and in one smooth motion, the dagger appeared. He lunged. The King of Qin reacted instantly, stepping back, twisting away. The blade missed by inches. Chaos followed. The king reached for his sword, but it would not come out. It was too long. A ceremonial blade, elegant, deadly, but useless in that moment. Seconds passed. Then a voice shouted, "Carry the sword behind your back!" The king turned, reached, and finally drew it free. At the same time, a court physician, in panic, threw a medicine pouch. It did not stop Jing Ke, but it disrupted him, just enough. That was the moment. The king struck. Jing Ke was wounded. He staggered until he could go no further, leaning against a pillar, bleeding. He no longer tried to escape. Instead, he laughed. And then he cursed the king, loudly, openly, without fear. Moments later, he was killed. Qin Shi Huang was executed as well. The assassination had failed. But failure does not erase consequences. It makes them worse. The King of Qin was not relieved. He was enraged. This was not just an attack. It was a challenge. Proof that even in his own court, he was not untouchable. The response was immediate. Qin marched on Yan. Cities fell. Defenses collapsed. Yan could not resist. In desperation, the King of Yan made a final decision. He ordered the execution of his own son, Prince Dan, and sent his head to Qin, hoping to beg for peace. It changed nothing. Yan was destroyed anyway. Looking back, it is easy to call this inevitable, the rise of Qin, the unification of China. But history does not feel inevitable in the moment. It moves through fragile chains, a delayed companion, a frightened assistant, a sword too long to draw, a shout in the crowd, a thrown pouch, a single moment where everything could have changed. This was not a story of weakness. The blade was real, the plan was real, but the outcome was decided in seconds, not by power, not by destiny, but by execution. And after that moment, history did not pause. It moved forward, quietly at first, and then with unstoppable force. Qin did what it had always intended to do. It marched, not for revenge alone, but for completion. One by one, the remaining states fell. Han was taken first. Then Zhao collapsed under pressure. Wei followed. Even Chu, the largest, the strongest, could not hold. Yan had already been broken. And finally, Qi stood alone. It surrendered without a fight. In less than a decade, the world Jing Ke had known disappeared. Years later, the King of Qin would take a new title. Not king, not ruler, but something no one had ever claimed before. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, a man who believed his rule would last for 10,000 generations, a man who built roads, walls, and an empire on the ruins of everything that came before. And the world that Jing Ke tried to stop was no longer a possibility. It was reality. If you want to hear more strange but true stories from Chinese history, subscribe to Imperial Absurdity.